Welcome everyone to our first pilot launch of our rebranded channel Alpha vs Xennial, where the Generations Alpha battle it out with the Xennials and talk about toys, games, TV shows, movies, and more. Today we are covering the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Cowabunga Collection, the Collector's Edition, priced at about $150, specifically for the Ninendo Switch. This game of course was released on other platforms like Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam for the PC. The standard edition price is currently $39.99. As you may have already noted, this is a pretty hefty box as it sports the Konami brand on it as well, which is really awesome because they helped develop some of the most memorable TMNT games that set the foundation for many more games to come. This box includes the game itself, of course, in the standard casing. The box itself is actually a collectible, especially since the artwork was by TMNT co-creator Kevin Eastman, an art book with 180 pages of development and concept art, a 24 by 16 inch cloth poster art designed also by Kevin Eastman, a 3D acrylic diorama, 5 metal pins, and 12 translucent TMNT Tournament Fighters cards. I'm going to go off script here and simply chat through the unboxing process. Later I'll show a bit of the game itself too. So I'm going to start off by simply slipping off the duster cover for the box off the TMNT here collector's case. You can see that the artwork is virtually the same on the front as it is on the dust covers, what I essentially call this, with the exception for the back, of course. This is definitely going to be more of a promotional thing, but you definitely want to keep the whole thing if you're a hardcore collector. On the back you can see it's got that yellowish green splash reminiscent of the 2012 TMNT design. Still absolutely love it because it's a amalgamation of artwork from the original Kevin Eastman to Nickelodeon's twist on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles today. So here I'm slipping off the official cover. There's a little insert in here, basically just stating that it's for ages 12 and older, I suppose, simply because it is a collector's edition box and not necessarily a play toy. The box itself is pretty sturdy, which is pretty nice, pretty hefty, pretty strong, not flimsy at all. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just take a quick look at the game itself. Now, it does have its own protective cardboard packaging, which is kind of nice, so it keeps the game separate from the rest of the items. So here again, this is going to be the standard collection, or the standard edition of what the game would look like if you were to buy it without the collector's box, of course. Factory wrapped, pretty much the same thing as you'll see in stores. This is what you have to look forward to. You can see that it is designed for multiplayer, typically about 1 to 4 players, because that's about what the arcade offers. For Turtles in Time, the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and so forth. Here, I went ahead and just opened up the game so you can take a look and see what's inside. Now I'm removing the cloth artwork by Kevin Eastman. This is very thick and extremely colorful. Absolutely love the design so far. I haven't quite taken it out of the package. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and peel this out and slip this off. So of course, for those of you guys who are hardcore TMNT or original TMNT collectors, this is the original artwork by Kevin Eastman. You can see that he's got his name signature down there at the bottom. It's not necessarily an authentic original signature, but of course it's his own, but it's just reprinted. So here are the collector's pins. Got the turtle blimp, the van, the party wagon, Technodrome, Krang. We got Shredder on the corner over there too. And I love that it's on a cardboard, a graphic cardboard, which just kind of has the graphics for some of the TMNT games. So we're going to go ahead and peel off another layer of the cardboard packaging to get to the next layer here, which actually has the 3D acrylic diorama and the TMNT Tournament Fighters cards. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and tackle is the Tournament Fighters cards. Now, they're a bit bigger than your standard cards. They're not necessarily kind of like the standard Pokemon size or Magic or whatever you collect type of cards. These are definitely just unique in themselves. Again, the plastic is pretty sturdy considering that they are cards. They are translucent, where you can see, if you flip over to the back, you can see that there's some transparency to it. I do like the graphics on this. They're very unique, very reminiscent of the TMNT Tournament Fighters. You can see I've got Leonardo, I got Michelangelo here, got Donatello, and these are very, very unique, intense designs too. You can tell that the artists were just absolutely fascinated with action poses. You got Raph. Some of the other Tournament Fighters characters like Armagon. You've got Asuka. It's a beautiful artwork that they have here. One of my favorite characters that I personally like to play is Chrome Dome. You got Karai, of course. And Rat King, who is absolutely on steroids here, but still love the graphic cards for this one. Got Shredder. Can't have any games without Shredder, of course. He's an absolute staple as the villain. War. And of course, Wingnut. And now we're going to go ahead and dive into the 3D acrylic setup. Here I've made a couple of mistakes before I actually put the video together. Just to let you know, one of the first things you want to make sure you do is that you peel off the frosted protective covering on both the front and back. So it took me a minute to kind of figure that out as I was putting the pieces of the acrylic graphic arts on the base, that I left some of the frosting on a few of these pieces, and now I was like, why are they not transparent enough? They were kind of not coming through. But once you peel everything off, of course, and you just kind of keep an eye out for it, just make sure you don't crack or scratch the acrylic. This is what you get. It's pretty awesome. So here, I mean, you can fit little things in it, or if you just want to leave it as is, because it is supposed to be kind of like a 3D diorama, you could just leave that as is. So on to the final part. We're going to go ahead and take off the last cardboard packaging and take out the book. This is the official TMNT The Cowabunga Collection art book. So you can see we're pretty much at the end of the box. There's nothing else behind it, so we're just going to go ahead and take a look at this. What's phenomenal about this book right off the bat from both front and back covers is you can see it's just an amalgamation of a beautiful collage of the different types of art work done by various artists that have done some of these things for the different video games that came out. So here you can see I've got the original arcade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with not only the concept art for the characters, but you know, the main characters, but you can see some of the villains, some of the extras that are included. You've got Turtles in Time, you've got the NES, you've got Tournament Fighters. So for anybody who's hardcore into collecting this is definitely a must-have, just because, especially if you're into the history of gaming or how it's designed, or if you're a designer yourself, this will definitely inspire you to give you some ideas to see how a lot of these games came about and how they started. It's not going to dive into too deep of history, obviously, but it gives you a definite glimpse into the development for some of these games that just absolutely became staples in many people's lives. Alright, so as promised, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right into the game itself here. So after, of course, you do the standard updates and get through some of the introduction screens here, you will notice that you'll be jumping right into the game. Something I have caught on to, the voices for the songs are a little bit different, so I think they had to redo some of these. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. but other than that, it's pretty awesome still. So pretty happy with the whole introduction piece. Definitely a great setup. Here you can see that I'm just toggling through a couple of menus down here at the bottom. Online, local play, Turtles layer, which I'm going to start off here. I'm going to give you a glimpse of a little bit of everything. I'm going to scan through a lot of this stuff here. So you can see that there's behind this shows, ads, comic books. You can see boxes and manuals. So I'm going to start with this one right here, the boxes and manuals, because this game actually contains a lot of reminiscent, not only art, but development stuff too. So you can kind of take a look and see that there's the American release, the Japanese for the Famicom systems, Super Famicom. So this is actually really cool. I did not expect to get anything like this. You can tell that whoever packages this entire thing up really wanted to go all out for those, especially who are hardcore collectors. And not necessarily just for the US release, but also for the Japanese games as well. I'm just literally scrolling through a lot of these. This is the manuals section, so you can see that I can, for all the games that are included in this package, I can toggle through all of the menus, or excuse me, the manuals that would have originally came with the game. So this is really an awesome bonus. Popping out from there, I want to take a look at the ads. So magazine advertisements. Some of you who may have collected Nintendo Power back in the day, you probably remember seeing some of these. And these were definitely a kickback, definitely nostalgic for those who were Gen Xers or Zennials like myself. Again, there's some from Japanese catalogs, which was kind of cool, things that we were never privy to, so you get a chance to take a look at that. Here we can see some additional ads that were put out in other media, magazines. So that was pretty awesome to check out. Here's some of the comic books. So for those who don't know anything about TMNT, you can take a look at the cover art, color, black and white versions of the very comic book that started this whole franchise. So again, a lot of this artwork, Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, the two co-creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Here you can see even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles adventure comic books. So what's nice about this is it kind of gives you a brief glimpse of the cover art for a lot of these that came out. You can literally just kind of click on it and then kind of take a look at them. There are some control factors where you can zoom in and kind of take a quicker, closer look. The animated shows, this is a lot of fun too. This is what essentially started off a lot of the people from knowing what the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were. I know that that was my introduction to the TMNT world, was through the cartoon and not necessarily the comic books. So here you can see a brief glimpse of the episodes that were in various seasons, and it's got everything up through Rise of the TMNT. So everything from the '87 show to the Rise of the TMNT. Here you can see that we've got the behind the scenes section, which is kind of cool. You've got something that's kind of reminiscent. For me, it looks like a weapons or katana boxes. So this is kind of neat to kind of see these expert guides, these stylized guides, excuse me, that you can see how the concept arts were delivered when these were presented. There's concept documentation too that you can kind of thumb through. So again, a lot of history for TMNT. Again, here's an example of how you can zoom in and out. Here's some of the Japanese documents as well, which is pretty cool too for designing some of these games. So again, really awesome, especially for those who are into game designing or just history buffs of this very awesome popular franchise. This is an awesome resource to have, so you can kind of take a look at something that may not necessarily be available anywhere else. So let's see, we're gonna go ahead and toggle over to music. Now this is really cool because you can hear the soundtrack to all the games, and I love how it's got the cassette tape as kind of like the icons, and it's like a really, you know, high resolution, looks very realistic, like they actually took a picture of a real cassette tape. And this is cool. If this is something that existed back in the day, I would have definitely collected these. I'm not sure, maybe people actually have something similar to that in their own collection. I never did, but here you've got strategy guides. And I found something very unique that I didn't notice. I just kind of started playing around with some of these, but say for example, if you're playing a couple of these games, you're stuck in a particular level, or you just need help and, you know, fighting some of these bosses, something that I just discovered is you can actually click on a particular section or article. If you zoom in, you click on it, it actually has a clip of that strategy that they're trying to teach you, and they actually show it to you as well. So that's actually really awesome too. That is, I think in my opinion, above and beyond what I expected. Because it definitely shows that the people who compiled this together really cared about actually having a Cowabunga collection. So it definitely holds up to the Cowabunga name for sure. And here I'm just kind of thumbing through, again, a lot of these strategy guides. You can see the moves list. And a lot of these are, again, graphics that you can see if you had maybe the Nintendo Powers. They're very reminiscent of whatever was in those catalogs. Here's the games. You got the arcade game. You got the Turtles in Time arcade. This is Turtles 4 for the Super Nintendo. Again, that's the Turtles in Time. You got Tournament Fighters. Here's the Hyperstone for Genesis. Tournament Fighters for Genesis. Yeah, Nintendo, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Got the Nintendo arcade. The Turtles 2 arcade, the Manhattan Project, which is Turtles 3 for Nintendo. Got Tournament Fighters for Nintendo. Follow the Foot Clan for Game Boy. We've got TMNT 2, Back from the Sewers for the Game Boy, and 3, Radical Rescue. And again, just going back to the arcade here. So I'm going to go ahead and just briefly play the arcade. So you're going to select your turtle first before the ROM actually loads up. I think it's just the way it does it. Now, if you notice, the graphics are on monitor filter, so there you do have some options, which I'll kind of discuss here in a second. But I just want to show you. Oh my goodness, this is the LCD, which should definitely be illegal to look at because it's just horrendous on the eyes. But I switched everything off, so now you can see everything is just absolutely flat and smooth. So once you select your character, this is where you can't really select anybody else, but you can just keep pressing the start button and your lives are just going to go up as many times as you press the start button. So it's definitely something where you don't have to worry about the difficulty, even if you're not as great. I will tell you, just a heads up, it's been a minute since I've played any of these arcade games, so I'm actually atrocious at playing some of this, as you can tell. But and it's hard I'm used to playing with a joystick and button pad, not necessarily on these tiny little controllers. But again, I'm not gonna play through the entire game. I just wanted to show you the graphics of what the actual game looks like. So the ROM is very smooth. I will tell you that the gameplay is good. It's not working 100% for me, only because I am also lagging a lot due to the video capture card. There have been some complaints about the multiplayer as well, but that's something that's very minor. If you're into just wanting to play this for yourself, you wouldn't have any problems at all. Again, the menu here, you can see that there is a save state, which is awesome. So any game that you play, unfortunately there are no game save slots. It just seems to be the one. I could be mistaken, but it's just all I found so far. I'm going to go ahead and switch again over to the NES, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because this is actually the first game I played back in the day. So again, The graphics are phenomenal. I mean, given that, you know, they've been smoothed out, you can go ahead and change those if you are feeling very nostalgic. Here's something you can see, kind of like the lines through it. It's got the TV filter. You can do monitor, which is, oh my goodness, this is, I do recall playing this on a computer back in the day, because the NES version wasn't necessarily limited just to the NES itself, but I think the PCs had it too. So I'm going to switch all that off, and as you can see, it's just much better, much cleaner. Again, the controls are very delayed and much more difficult for me, only because, again, the video capture card is just making this really hard. But when I was playing without the video capture, it was really smooth, very responsive, no complaints whatsoever. Typically, you are limited by the hardware if you had played the original NES TMNT game, but there's no lag issues there. So this wraps it up for us. Is it worth the price point? I do wish it was perhaps a bit cheaper. My little dude did get the Metroid Dread Collector's Edition for at or under $100. The game itself, though, does have so much virtual content, more than I expected, so you'll definitely feel you got a collection type package even if you just paid the $40. But being that this appealed to my generational nostalgia whims, it was worth saving up and now owning this. I hope this helps you all get some insight to the collector's box, even if you're just considering just hunting for it. Thanks again for checking out our Alpha vs. Zennial channel. Please like and subscribe to help us grow. We hope to see you all in the next one.